gonna air you.
You're gonna air you. All right, here we go. It is very in theme that you would play ukulele on a Plumeria episode.
No, aloha.
Here we go.
Ukulele.
Here we go, man. Hey, everybody, it is Thursday, and this is not Thursday. We do these on Wednesdays now, not Thursdays. All right, it's Wednesday, and this is the garden party. This is the garden party, and we want a garden party with you. We talk about the plants we grow and some things you might not know. Garden party. All right, Phil, introduce yourself, dude.
What up, everybody? It's your favorite plant parent and regular parent, Phil from Phil's Figs. How you doing? We're back on the podcast. My favorite time of the week to talk plants for more than 5 minutes.
It is my favorite time of the week too, especially because we do get some return guests, but we also bring in some new guests that I've been following for a while, and then maybe some of y'all have never heard of before, but you definitely should give a follow to our new the Plumeria Papa and the Hibiscus Papa, right? Go ahead and introduce yourself, Alex.
Yeah, my name's Alex Franco. I'm in Southern California. Plumeria Papa and Hibiscus Papa I have two different Instagram accounts because I feed a bunch of different things to it. And so I grow Plumeria, I import Plumeria, hybridize hibiscus, grow hibiscus. It's kind of just like a side hustle, I guess you could say. But I do have 3,000 square feet. I do have 3,000 square feet of greenhouse, so a little bit of a crazy side hustle.
So you have greenhouse in San Diego. We'll break that down for sure.
No, I'm in Riverside, which is actually a cooler location. It's actually cooler than San Diego. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because we were talking about this before the episode. I think tomorrow we're getting a cold front in, and it's going to be around 51 here in Houston. And I looked at the wind chill, like the feel like temperature, and it says 42. And I was I was like, man, I probably need to do something with maybe I think I've had my Plumerias out for a little bit colder and at like around mid 40s, and they've been fine. But my desert roses, I know they can be very sensitive to like any kind of chill. So I went ahead and I loaded up. It took me 4 wagon loads to get all my desert roses, including the seedlings, into the garage. And so you were talking about how this is like y'all's, last sale of the year for the most part, because it starts cooling down where you're at too.
Yeah. Usually around mid-October, that's kind of like your last time you want to sell Plumeria. I mean, people will still sell them beyond that, but that's just people that don't care about what people have through the wintertime. Like, they don't care if they die for them. So I cut my sales on my Plumerias off. That way people aren't struggling with dead plants through the winter because they don't know about them. So, it's kind of a cycle. So we go like April through June is all cutting sales, where you just buy just the cuttings. And then from June till like about now, then you're going to be buying like rooted product. So that's typically how you do it.
Yeah. Well, and me and Phil kind of come from the fig world, and, people sell cutting.
To fig world.
Yeah. Cause people buy, like, they'll pay a big money for cuttings of figs.
For scions to graft.
Yeah, and I went to a Plumeria Society of America sale one time, and I found out Plumeria people are crazy, dude. Like, it's nuts, man.
We have some Plumeria people here in Wilmington, North Carolina that
they're worse than fig people for sure. They're for sure worse than fig people. Because I've been to some of the rare fruit
challenge
growers.
Accepted.
The rare fruit growers in Southern California, there's a rare fruit growers group that they meet up. And like, if you're not there like 5 hours early in line, that is, then you're not going to get anything at all because it goes so fast. Oh yeah, it's nuts here.
Bet.
Yeah, because you have all the stuff you don't have in Southern Texas and in North.
Oh yeah.
You're breaking up, Alex. You broke up a little bit. You there, Alex?
Alex.
You might have to move closer to the house.
I think I might have a connection issue. Should I fix that?
Yeah. Do you want to maybe just move a little bit closer to the house, maybe, and come back in like 5? We'll give like 5 minutes or something. Or I'll just mute you. You just want to mute yourself and move a little closer, and we can do that.
Yeah. Give me a second.
Okay. Yeah. So The cold front's kind of freaking me out. You said is it getting a little cooler up there, Phil?
It got cool over here. So today the high was 60, and it freaked everybody out because like October here is generally, you know, you can open the windows at night. It's getting cool. Maybe throw a sweater on in the morning, and by the afternoon, you're 70s or so, and even 80. And November, it felt like a November day here, which is kind of rare. And it's this cold front that I'm hoping, and by the weekend, it's supposed to warm back up again. But
Yeah.
I was like,
It's
oh
that
crap!
time. It's that time of year where I'm bringing stuff in and out like constantly. Like it's that time of year. Yeah,
and
it's a cycle.
I have a panel. Like I need to get replacement panels for my greenhouse because they just took a beating from the sun, and I don't want to. And I'm doing all the research and trying to figure out. I'm going to have to just take like a busted panel. It's cracked, but it's still whole, and I'm going to put it back on my greenhouse and just run with it.
And those poly panels are expensive.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm holding off. I'm trying to hold out.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about making a wood frame with polyethylene, like the fabric, and I'm going to pull it tight, and I'm going to make these like extra panels as insulation, and just like double down on every corner, and just kind of create like a double frame.
that's not a bad idea, dude. That's not a bad idea at all. Yeah, I mean, what you could do is just throw a big when I build my end walls out, and I'm sure you can buy bigger rolls of this, like on Greenhouse Megastore, but you can buy like the 6 mil plastic at Home Depot. It's in the painter section.
I bought I bought a big roll of like 60 feet by 45 feet or something.
Yeah. Are all the panels like basically the same size? Like all the panels for your greenhouse?
No.
Okay.
I have some longer and shorter ones. It's kind of a pain in the tuchus.
Yeah, because I was thinking what you could do is just go through and kind of make the bottom half like out of wood or whatever, and just use those panels for the top. You know what I mean? Like just kind of have the top clear on top so you can protect your stuff. Miss Des says she's a little under the weather. She was going to be with us tonight, but she was not feeling great. She says 90. Oh, Dee Dee says 99% on Monday in Dallas, 69 degrees. Dude, it was.
Dee-Dee's got yo-yo weather right now. 46 is the low, 43, and then all the way back up to 99. Is that Austin?
Yes.
Is that what ATX is?
Yes. Oh, Des is in Austin. Dee Dee's in Fort Worth.
Okay.
But yeah,
Des,
I mean,
okay, sorry, I misread that.
No, you're good. And it was 97 here on Tuesday, or on Monday. It was 97. Yeah, dude. I was outside trying to finish up that garden area that and it was 97 degrees out there. Dude. I was sweating.
It looks great. That your new space right there.
I know, man. And I videoed the whole thing. So I finally finished it. I planted it so I can actually edit that video and get it going. We got Alex back now.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, it's gonna be handheld the rest of the time, but that's fine.
You're fine.
You're good, dude.
All right, for some reason, I thought you were in San Diego. You're in Riverside. They're not even close to each other.
Yeah, it's hotter and cooler. So I deal with
crazy.
I had like snow, not last year, but the year before I had some snow that touched down, and it gets pretty chilly here. So I actually have the greenhouses though, just because I can keep the temperature the way I want it. Growing things in places they're not supposed to grow. You have to make
all
the parameters around them. Yeah, you have to make the parameters for them. So it's easy to regulate a greenhouse than it is to regulate an outdoor temperature.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it normal for a plumeria to defoliate every year? Is that part of its normal cycle?
Yeah, okay. Except for there's two. I mean, there's multiple, but the two main ones that are familiar to people would be Plumeria rubra, which would be the one that drops its leaves, and that's the most common with all the different colors. And then there's Plumeria obtusa, which would be like Singapore varieties, which are what you would call semi-evergreen. So if either of you have been to Hawaii or somewhere similar, I can't think, but anywhere similar to the temperature of Hawaii, then you would see a lot of the hotels. They use the Singapore varieties because they keep the green leaves year round.
It's not as messy. Not as messy. You have to clean it up.
Not as messy. Too. It looks like it doesn't look like a dead tree when people are visiting from out of the area. So even in like Hawaii,
there are
Mhm.
the plumeria will drop their leaves like all
yeah,
the way.
yeah.
They'll go dormant there.
Yeah, it has nothing to do, like just like all other trees. It doesn't have anything to do with temperature. That of course adds a little bit, but it's all light. So less amount of light, it triggers the trees to drop their leaves. So
Oh,
yeah, it's just
Oh,
like
got
it's just like geese flying south for the winter. Plants have that same trigger when the light changes. When our daylight changes, usually around right now, September, October. That's when trees start going into their dormant mode. So that would be what the plumeria are doing.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's
Well, go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's really great to know. Like I know that I have about 4 or 5 plumeria.
Mhm.
Some were given. I was voluntold to take them because it
Yeah.
was like 10 feet tall, and I had the greenhouse and I had the green thumb. And
Yep.
I always get nervous, like of keeping it happy. Like I thought it was just like, oh, it's stressed, like it'll just get through the winter without leaves. And no, it's part of the light cycle. So I
It is
appreciate
part of the
hearing
life
that.
cycle. Yeah. Yeah. And what I usually do with mine that are in the greenhouse, because um, when the temperature drops and they start going into the dormant mode, they don't want as much water anymore. And when they drop their leaves completely, no water at all. I actually force them into dormancy by just trimming all the leaves off, and I leave a little tiny nub, and then that nub will fall off within a week, and it self heals along the trunk, so you don't get any disease or bugs or anything like that in the trunks. So I leave like a little nub
Okay.
when I'm cutting the leaves off. And with that said, it's usually in about a week or two is when I start defoliating everything, and then I don't
Yeah.
water from basically I don't water from Thanksgiving to Easter inside the greenhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Oh, nice.
if anything starts looking dehydrated, like where the stems start getting a little wrinkled, I just spray the stems down because
Kind of moist it.
they will absorb water through the stems. But
Oh, okay.
you don't want the soil or the roots wet when it's cold because then they'll just rot. Those are the two
Yeah.
things that kill them. They could take all kinds of water in the world if it's warm. Like you go to
Okay.
Hawaii, Hawaii is like the most rain in any part of our states that has the most rain there in Hawaii, but they have the
Yeah.
volcanic soil and their night
Mhm.
temperatures never really drop down much past 60, 50s at the
Yeah.
lowest, I would say, like in January.
And
So
that's
it's
like
warm.
if you're on the big island at elevation, I feel like, because I remember being on the big island and we didn't need AC at night at some spots because you were so high up.
Oh yeah, it depends on where you are on the big island. I mean, you have Hilo that's tropical that rains like every day, and you go to
Yeah.
Kona and it's dry. So
Right. Right.
it's crazy how big island is. Yeah.
It's
That's
great. Like
fantastic.
if anyone is like has ever been to Hawaii, the big island has like the
Diverse.
majority of the climate biomes ever. Like there's parts
Yeah.
of Hawaii on the Big Island that rain every day, and as a geologist, I love the Big Island, and
Yeah.
because you have the volcanic side, and then you have like and in Kona, and then like there's parts that they called like the desert, like which was this beach that was just sunny all the time.
Yeah, there's also when you're going up to the cattle ranches, you have those fields of like wheat. It's not wheat, but it's some type of native grass, and it does look
Oh,
like
like
Montana. It looks
what's
like
that town?
Montana's
Oh,
just
yeah.
Why Maya?
yeah, I believe so. I think that's where I drove through. I forget.
It sounds
But
like I
It's
need to
just
go to
like grassy
Hawaii.
fields, and in the distance you see a big blue ocean. It's crazy.
Yes, exactly like that. But yeah, for sure, you got to go to
Well,
Hawaii.
but before we go too far, I want to like kind of start from the beginning and maybe find out. So, Alex, like, how did you get into plumerias? Like, how did you become the plumeria papa? How did you become the hibiscus papa? Like, what got you into this kind of stuff?
So the plumerias were a long time ago. I did a order I was working for a company and I was ordering some plants for a display we were doing. This is like when I was like 20. So this was back in like early 2000s, I want to say. So I was ordering Plumosa fern and I clicked the wrong thing. I clicked plumeria by accident instead of Plumosa fern. And so the plumerias came in. Obviously, I couldn't use them, but the director of that group said, "Well, they're yours now." And then I had to deal with them. So I grew them for a little while, which I was in Vegas at the time. I grew them for a little while, and they eventually died just because Vegas is a horrible place to grow pretty much anything.
Yeah,
And anyway, that's how it started. And then when I moved to California, I started getting into it again. I started selling wholesale to nurseries, and then that just wasn't panning out money wise. So I started importing more stuff and getting more varieties and getting clients that needed me to trim their trees that were really cool colors people wanted. And then the name Plumeria Papa just came from because my grandson calls me Papa. So
I
that's
love
where
that.
that's where the Papa came from. So
Love it.
That's
everybody-
fantastic, man.
yeah. And then some people call me Plumeria Poppy, Plumeria Daddy, and I'm like, it's just Plumeria Papa. But whatever, I don't care.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And you were importing most of your stuff from Thailand, right? Like probably Thailand and
Yeah, Thailand. Yeah, that's the major one that people import from for the different colors. The only thing that
Okay.
people are dealing with problems is getting there's a virus called Frangipani, which means Plumeria Frangipani mosaic virus, which doesn't kill the plant, but it
Oh,
discolors the leaves and discolors the flower. It looks like blood drops on the flower.
shut up, really?
Yeah. So
well, figs have a
that-
mosaic virus that goes around.
Yeah.
and
That's-
can
Oh,
infect through spider
Yeah.
mites or other
Yeah.
parasites. And
Yeah, luckily that one isn't insect driven. It's actually from people cutting it with their blade and
Yep.
using that same blade to the next, and the sap carries it. It's like all the other
Ooh.
viruses out there, like Fusarium and Phytophthora.
And
There's
that
a
can
bunch
all
of
that
different
that
viruses.
transfer also happens with fig mosaic virus.
Yeah.
So collectors,
It's-
that's where the problems come with all the rare varieties with the collectors for sure.
That's why it's so important to disinfect like your tools when you're working with things like any plant. You should really like after you make any cuts on anything, you need to disinfect your trimmers and your knives and your blades, all that stuff. It's so important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I usually, if I do end up trimming a tree that I didn't know that had virus, then I'd done it before. After I got done trimming, I was looking at the leaves a little closer, and of course, you'd have to test it to know 100%. But if it visually looks bad, I just toss everything, including the saw I was using, just get a new saw because it's not really worth it. So
Yeah.
but
Wow.
the Thai varieties I bring in, I actually stress for 3 months before I release them. So the way I stress them is I put them in a greenhouse that's usually over 100 degrees for that 3 months and try to stress out the virus out of them with the heat.
Oh,
And that way I don't
you give it a fever?
I give it a fever. That way it doesn't I don't have to carry any bad product to people, because it's all over United States already. So it's already pretty bad. Yeah.
It's like your quarantine area. You got to quarantine.
It
It's like it's like
It is
whenever you
quarantine,
import fish, you put like your fish like in a quarantine or anything like that.
Yeah, when I had
That,
koi,
that makes so much
I
sense.
had a stock tank for quarantine my koi when I had koi. Yeah, exactly.
Is
Oh.
it's so weird that certain varieties like the exotic ones you get from Thailand, but like Plumeria are native from Mexico, right? They're native from South
Mhm.
America, right?
South
It's-
America, Mexico. Yep.
It's so bizarre. Is there a reason like why it gets so exotic over there in Thailand? Do they just have really passionate breeders over there, or like, or where does that come
No,
from?
the weather is like perfect.
Is
Like
it?
how you said you're doing your seeds this year and stuff like that. Well,
Yeah.
Plumeria seeds for the normal person would take anywhere from 4 to 8 years to get a bloom out of a seed, because it has
Yeah.
to be mature to be a seed. But in Thailand, you'll get them in like a year or two. It's so humid
Shut
and,
up. Oh
and
my
so hot.
God.
You're so humid, so hot year round that you get faster growth. If you're grafting, the graft heals within like 2-3 weeks, like perfectly.
Oh my God.
It's just perfect weather for growing Plumeria.
So
and
what is
adeniums and
what is a Plumeria growth rate?
Depends on where you're at.
Like I want,
depends
I'd like
on
to
a
hear
couple
both
things.
circumstances.
Yeah, so it really depends on where you're at and also the variety. There's some dwarf varieties that don't get more than 5-6 feet tall. So
I have a friend here, Craig, a different Craig than our show, Craig Harmon.
Yeah.
I hope you're doing well. And he has a 20-year-old Plumeria that is 6 feet tall. Is that
Mhm.
right? Is that
Yeah.
accurate? And he just says it grows so slow.
Well, also-
Is
Like,
it
you wouldn't
smaller
believe it.
flowers?
you're
Is it
also
smaller flowers?
sometimes you're also dealing
Sometimes.
in your area, North Carolina. You're dealing
Yeah.
with cold temperatures, so it's in a container.
Yeah.
So anything
Mhm.
container is gonna, slower growth rate, slower root growth, slower top growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that goes with the Plumeria. If that was in the ground, I could tell you it'd probably be 5 feet taller, more than likely, unless he bought it as a dwarf.
Wow.
Now his thing is he collects them as he goes on trips around the world, and that's his
Oh, okay.
that's his like gift that he takes with himself.
Mhm,
And then
yeah.
he's a big
He's-
surfer, so he travels all of these surf destinations that are usually tropical. So he usually finds a Plumeria.
He's
Yeah.
he's probably prop lifting off a beach somewhere. He's probably prop lifting.
Honestly, there was times in the beginning when I'd go to Hawaii, and there would be something growing in the wild, like a plumeria growing. We'll call it on the side of a road or whatever, and I would take a branch or two off of it, but I'd give it like my bottle of water, just because this is kind of how I look at it. Thanks for a couple branches. Give you a little bit of water because it probably doesn't get water in that location where I took those from.
Yeah, you got to pay. Like I think it's a big thing in Hawaii with Pele's.
Yeah,
like you have to understand Pele's gift, and you have to respect.
You got to give it back. Got to give it back.
Yeah.
So but I haven't done that for a long time. The only time I trim in Hawaii is when friends call me out to do trim there or something like that, which hasn't been for a while.
I was at a bar in Houston, and it was after we had that big polar vortex where it was like 10 degrees.
Oh yeah, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and about 3 or 4 years now, and they had in their patio area this plumeria, and it was just growing out of the ground, and I know it hadn't been like just recently planted, like it had to have been there for years. This is right after the polar vortex, and I was like, this survived the polar vortex. I was like, I might need to grab me a piece of this, and so I had a couple beers. I pulled my pocket knife out, and I was like, just grab me a little 8-inch piece. And to my credit, I did post that I stole a piece, and I tagged them on Instagram, and they didn't care. So they were okay with it.
Yeah.
So,
with that polar vortex, what I noticed with the growers that were growing plumeria in Texas at that time was most of their mature trees that had been in the ground for 8 to 10 years, they froze down to the ground, and then they resprouted from the base. So
did they really?
Most people's plants survived. I mean, a lot crashed. But I got a lot of pictures from people that, the trees are now, 4 or 5 years later, they're already back up to 10 feet, So they'll grow really fast if they're in the ground.
But they'll grow fast if they're in the ground and they're associated with like a large root ball already. Does that help a lot with the fast growth?
It's not huge roots, right? It's not.
No, it's mostly surface roots. The only thing you ever have to worry about roots with those is like if it's pushing against a wall but that's just expansion, natural expansion underground. It's not. The tree's not aggressive,
because from like a fig perspective, you can do a rejuvenation prune and prune it way back, and you can still get a tremendous amount of growth rate out of new growth. Could that be the same for plumeria, or do they have like a certain pace they move at?
Yes and no. You could do that, but I don't think it'd make it grow faster. But if you are going to do that, you want to do it like in the warm months, like around. For Texas and North Carolina, that'd probably be around April, May. I'm guessing April for North Carolina, May for Texas before it gets too hot.
April 1st is our last chance of freeze and frost.
Yeah,
but May is really when our warm weather is just consistent.
So you guys are both probably May then, yeah. Because I know Texas is a little wacky through April too, and just like October, a little wacky in Texas with the weather.
Yeah,
ups and downs.
Right. Before we go too far, I want to catch up on some questions. Hey all, it's Blue Sage. It's my birthday, and I want to give, please. What is the number one best secret to get my plumerias to bloom? I'm gonna let you answer that, Alex. The number one. What is your secret to get a bunch of blooms?
So for blooms, there's two products out there. If you want to support small business, you could buy Excalibur from Florida Colors. It's a nursery in Florida. It's a slow release fertilizer. You put it on is she in Texas? I'm guessing if she's in Texas, she'll put it on right when, actually wherever she is, when the leaves just start pushing out. That's when you want to put the fertilizer down. And it lasts for about 3 to 4 months. Release capsule fertilizer. If she doesn't want to support a small business and just wants to go to box stores, she could get Osmocote Plus, which is not the same, but it's very similar, and it'll last about 2 months. That'll help get the blooms out. Another thing I do use, hang on. I know I brought it with me when I moved in here.
Oh, you're good.
Another thing I do use, this is actually on my Plumeria Papas that you could get a 10% discount on it. I use this stuff. It's called Firmus Terrace right here. I don't know if that's on the screen.
Firmus Terrace.
Can you see it okay? So
earthworm castings.
It's a earthworm casting, but it has seaweed extract in it. And it also has mycorrhiza in it. So
good.
So what you have with that seaweed extract is a natural hydrogen for the plant. So you have when you water with it, it actually encapsulates the water in the leaves and the stems and the roots. So it actually makes the plant grow a lot faster. So if the plant's growing faster, naturally, I should say, if the plant's growing faster, you're going to produce flowers more often too. So I actually use both those, the Osmocote, and I use that Vermistera, which yeah, both of those are really good. Those are my favorites. I usually don't use anything else. I'm pretty much all organic with my greenhouses because they're enclosed. They're enclosed, so it's easy to kind of regulate things. I mean, I only get like aphids once in a while, where everybody usually gets like white fly on their hibiscus. I never go white fly because I use the worm casting stuff too. So
yeah, the only pest I've ever had in my plumerias, honestly, I'll get some ants. I'll get some ants and maybe some aphids. And then I had monarch caterpillars. I had never seen monarch caterpillars eat. Yes. I had monarch caterpillars on my
I've seen that
plumerias.
when they don't have any. Yeah, if they don't have milkweed to eat, then they will go for that. It's not the same toxicity as milkweed though. Milkweed's way more toxic than plumeria.
Is it really?
Plumeria is just topical. Yeah, plumeria is just topical toxicity. One time, it was really funny. I still have a scar. I think it's like over here. I was trimming in Hawaii, and I got sap on my face, and I didn't know it. And I went to the beach the rest of the day with sap on my face. And like for like 5 years, I had like a burn scar right here. And now, 10 years later or whatever, now it's just kind of like you could barely see it now. It's pretty crazy. So it's a topical toxin. It's not like milkweed is toxic if you eat it, stuff like that. But I've heard, different things where people use plumeria leaves in food and stuff like that, and it's okay. So
really,
yeah,
because I've heard I heard the flowers are toxic though.
Yeah, I mean, but you could put them on like food dishes and then flour in drinks. They're not going to
as a garnish or something.
It's not like oleander or something that'll really destroy.
No. Same family. Yeah,
it's the dog.
Oh, it's in the same family. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because someone was telling me, like, what is it? Plumeria and adeniums are all in the dogbane family with the oleanders. Is that accurate?
Dogbane, dogbane, oleander. Yeah, all of it. It's all tied together. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, oleander I would not put anywhere near me in any way. Oleanders.
I just can't believe they grow it in the ground all over here, and they're beautiful. I'm like, it's just right there in front of everybody.
They should have a warning in front of it. They should have.
It makes you so itchy, dude. It makes me so. My grandpa's got them, and they die back every spring, or in the winter, and they come back really strong. And when you're mowing, you rub up against it, and you get itchy, man. It sucks. I hate it. I had a similar thing. I had a similar thing. I bought some pencil cactus from like Home Depot years ago, and I was pruning.
Yeah, fire
dude. And, oh my god, yeah, dude. They should put a warning on that stuff because I used to work. I used to
get
work
in your eyes.
Oh, that's what I did. I was wearing gloves and I had contacts and everything, but I guess something happened and I got it in my eye, man. And that's why they call it fire stick, because it'll burn your freaking eyeballs out. I was literally sitting, dude, I was sitting upside down in the bathtub with water flushing on my face while I was on the phone with poison control. I was like, dude, am I going to go blind? This is the worst burning feeling I've ever had in my life. It was so terrible.
So here in California, there's been 2 cases talking about the 2 toxins we were talking about. There's been a case where a minister or something was trimming some fire sticks, and he did go blind. So it depends on, I think, how long you leave it in. And then way, way back when I was a kid, there was something about a horse eating some oleander and dying too. So
I believe it.
Yeah, it could kill horses. I mean, it's nuts. So that nothing to mess around with. Yeah, but the fire sticks is crazy. You have it at like Home Depot and Lowe's, and
yes.
The pencil cactus.
Well, I think most people don't understand that, some of the most beautiful flowers, like everything about them, like is poisonous. Everything else is like, I say, I gotta be careful. There's poisonous and there's toxic, right? There's poisonous, toxic. These are toxic plants. These are not poisonous plants. But I've heard people say that, I won't grow plumerias because my dog will eat them and it'll kill them. And that's not really the case, huh?
No, I've never heard a dog dying from it. I've heard them like having to go banyo for a while, afterwards, but that's toilet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
In California, we all know slang Spanish words in California.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I took 4 years in high school. I know a little bit.
Yeah.
No, for sure. For sure, man. Yeah. I just tell people to get smarter dogs.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. But yeah, I would say they're slightly toxic. But I did read an article a while back, and you guys will find this very interesting. And I gotta say, I read this about 5-6 years ago, and so everybody knows about neem oil, right? Everybody
Yeah.
uses neem oil for an organic spray that's systemic that'll take care of insects. It's in neem oil. So there's a study done. I don't know if it was done in America or in like India where they use it heavily, but
Yeah.
there was a study done where they were overspraying some plants, and there was a cat. They had like a household cat that was outside or whatever, stray cat, whatever it was, and she was pregnant, and I guess she was breathing the neem oil, and that actually caused birth defects to her young, her kittens.
Oh,
So
Oh, wow.
there was a whole study done on. So then there was a study done on it, and they did find some conclusive evidence that neem oil can cause birth defects in pregnant animals if they're breathing it, often. So something that's
yeah.
used even in food in India, that's used in their, I think, in some of their like smaller dishes.
Yeah.
Even stuff like that, if you're breathing it, can cause issues. But so I strayed away from neem oil now. I just use horticulture oil whenever I have to do a spray down or whatever. It's just easier. So yeah.
There's actually, I mean, there's a lot of alternatives to neem oil nowadays. There's the,
Yeah.
I think our buddy up at Smith's Garden Town, like peppermint oil. There's all kinds of like
Yep.
essential oils you can spray. But I mean,
Yep.
anything aerosolized, you want to be careful when you're misting something. You want to be really careful. Make sure, like, if it's too windy, I'm not spraying anything. And
Yeah.
I really got away from spraying as much as I did last year. I used to be the guy who went out and sprayed every Friday night, but now I'm maybe spraying once every month, once every 2 months, and I feel like it's helped. Even like my foliar feeding, I'm not doing as much, I feel like I'm having better results this year, not spraying as much. And I feel like it's been more effective.
Yeah, that's
Especially
good.
with neem
time-
oil.
Yeah, the only time I spray is before a show. That way I knock off any, because like I said, I only usually have now aphids these days using that worm casting tea. So I only just have aphids a little bit once in a while, and I just do a spray down a few days before a show. That way I'm not bringing any product with live insects on them, so.
There's actually I'll shout them out because they send me some samples. It's a company called West Coast Ag, and they make a product called Pure Crop One. It's a neem oil. It's pretty effective. I really like it. I really liked it actually. But it might be something I'm looking into as well. It's made there in California, so it's kind of it's not made with neem oil. It's something else. I forget what it is, but it's all organic. It's OMRI certified too. This is something maybe we talked about earlier with the Las Vegas plumerias, but they're saying they're in West Texas with the heat. How do you keep a plumeria alive in a greenhouse there with an AC unit or what? It was tough in Las Vegas to keep them alive. It was just too hot and dry.
Yeah, Vegas is too cold and too hot and dry, both. You could keep them alive. They just require a lot of work. Wintertime, you have to bring them inside. And then summertime, like started for Vegas, it was again April, May, June. So from June until Halloween, it's 120 degrees. It's really like
wow.
It's hot. It's between 100 and 118 between June and Halloween. Then Halloween it dips down. So for those months, so that's 4 or 5 months, you have to have like an 80% shade cloth over the top of them, and then if you're not using like a seaweed extract or a worm tea extract to keep them hydrated, they'll actually dry out really fast and burn up and die because it's so dry there.
Oh, I can imagine.
Wow.
The air sucks the moisture right out, probably.
Yeah, it's the opposite of Texas and Florida, and the eastern states. It's the opposite. It's like 0% humidity. You guys are like 90% humidity in the summertime.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's crazy. Like I like to surf, and when I go to California to visit people, and everyone dries their wetsuits out in an hour, and it takes mine like days, plural, to dry out because it's so humid here.
Yeah, even here in Southern California, it's dry in Southern California too. A lot drier than like half your guys. So it's pretty crazy.
So only imagining like what Las Vegas could be like. Oh my gosh.
So Anthony, he says he's from Los Angeles County here. You kind of touched on the plumeria fertilizer that you use. How often are you fertilizing? How often do you fertilize?
So I just do Osmocote once a year. So Anthony was asking, I saw that note there. So LA is going to be similar temperature to here. I'm just a little cooler, a little hotter than him, but he can use Osmocote Plus or Excalibur. And he'll apply that usually around late April for LA. And depending on the part of LA, but most of LA will start pushing out new leaves by the beginning of May. Yeah, he just applies that once. And then in the summertime, he could use a seaweed extract or worm casting tea to keep things moving biologically with the plant.
Do you have one of those brewers for your compost tea, like the bubbles, or you just mix it up? I've seen the people like make those bubblers or whatever, like the brewers for like their
No,
compost.
the
I've seen those like
the
conical things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So theirs is like, I don't know the exact 100% details of it because I haven't visited their farm. That's still something I gotta go do. But so that stuff that I showed you earlier, the vermiteris, there you go. That
Mhm.
one, I just get the product from them in gallons.
Okay.
And then I sell the product for them at my shows. But it's just like a home family business. But what do you call it? So it's almost like a brewery. They like age it. It's like for like a year. They oxidize it with air, and then they add the other ingredients into it, and they're all, they have all the FDA stuff on the back and stuff too. All this, all the stuff that all of them have, all that good stuff, the Maury listed and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a cool company. I mean, they're doing really good as a little
No,
company that started up.
absolutely. I always say, support local. Always buy
Yeah,
local if you can.
yeah, because I mean, I could take worm castings and throw them in a bucket of water with a air filter for an aquarium, and that would oxygenate it. But then you'd have to add the mycorrhiza, and you have to add the seaweed extract. By the time I'm done, I'm
Right.
spending more money doing it myself. So why not buy it in the bottle? So
Right.
yeah.
Well,
But that's
You're
what I do.
you're paying for the save yourself the time. And then
Yeah.
they're doing it better anyway.
Correct, that too.
And if you're,
100%.
I feel like
Yeah,
with
100%.
plumerias, if
I
you're
don't wanna
going
have
to
a
the
holding.
lengths to keep your plumeria, then you want to give it this stuff to like really showcase it and help it live its best life.
Yep. Yeah. The seaweed extract really makes it like your leaves. Let's say your leaves are like 5 inches. Sorry, my camera. 5 inches this year. If you
Okay.
put seaweed extract on it in the summertime, that is like from June through August, the leaf will like almost 3 to 4 times the size. It'll almost quadruple in length and width.
What?
And the best part about that, especially in hot, dry regions, I know you're not dry, but you're hot in Texas, is the bigger the leaves, the less problems you have with sunburn on trunks, the less
Mhm.
disease and stuff like that, because those leaves are shading, they're doing their job, they're protecting the trunk.
I've even heard of people saying that leaves are. I forget. I think it was Vikram, our buddy, the plant prof, who was talking to us about it. I think if you take like so you go to a nursery, right? And you buy a plant and it's under a shade cloth, and you take it home and you put it out in full sun. A lot of times it'll drop the leaves that it has when you buy them, and it'll create new leaves that are more developed to absorb the right amount of sunlight in the new area that it's in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's correct. And when people buy stuff from me, because my stuff's coming out of greenhouses, I always tell people just put it in morning sun, afternoon shade for the first one or 2 weeks until it's gets used to the area that it's going into, and then you can move it around in the yard wherever it needs to go.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
that period after the buying in the nursery.
yeah, it's like a warm up. It's like a warm up period. It's the same thing with me when I buy plumerias or desert roses. I bring them home and I put them in a new spot, and within a week they drop all the leaves. I'm like, what's going on? But then they just put new ones on right afterwards. As long as you don't have any soft rotting spots, it's fine. Just give it some more time, and it comes right back.
Yeah.
I got one from our friend Des. Best smelling plumeria variety, and I guess dude,
I have a good one.
Everybody calls their variety something. I guess can we talk about that? Like, where do the names come from? Because I don't know. I mean, you would be able to answer this a little better. I'm sure there's some genetic lines where people can trace like who bred this or whatever, maybe. But like with figs, as soon as you lose the label, we tell people like, hey, it's whatever kind of fig you call it, because there's no way I can tell you exactly what variety it is. I mean,
Yeah,
is there
no,
ways
no,
to lock that in for plumerias, like which variety this is and
yeah.
who made it?
So for plumerias, I know this is a really big question because there's so much to it. But
Yeah,
for plumerias and any plants, if they don't have a tag, it'd just be a no ID or a NOID, as some people call it, no identification. I think that also goes with figs too. I think I just
Mhm.
lost you
yeah.
guys. Sorry, coming back,
We
coming
I
back.
can still hear
There
you.
we are.
yeah, we can hear you. We
Okay,
just can't
good.
see you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm coming back
Now
There you
you're
go.
back.
There you go. There you
So,
go.
so with the plumeria, there's actually a whole registration process. So when you grow a plumeria out, typically, unless you're using like one of those little microscopes and like fine needle point, you can't hybridize plumeria yourself. You have to like use an X-Acto knife. You have to cut into the backside to actually pollinate it and cross pollinate it yourself. So typically, you would just list the parent plant as the parent plant. You don't list the donor or the pollen plant, just the parent plant, the mother plant. So with that said, the registry just they take like the color, the size, the smell, the stem style, how it grows. It's a whole long. It's actually hard and a little bit of work to register a plumeria. So named varieties will be registered. So like common varieties that are registered would be like Nebel's Rainbow, Hilo Beauty, Aztec Gold. I'm just doing like common ones. Samoan Fluff,
I've
very
heard of
common.
Aztec Gold. I have a pink
Yeah.
Veracruz. Is that one?
Veracruz Rose is going to be one of the strongest smelling ones. That's actually,
That's
on, yeah,
it lights up my whole greenhouse. It's not even that big compared to the other ones, and it smells
yeah, yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. Hang on one second. I'm just going to chop the camera off for a second because I'm going to grab
Yeah,
some flowers because I
yeah,
brought
for
them
sure.
with me.
Yeah, well,
So
and I'll tell people if you ever can go to a Plumeria Society of America sale, it is literally like people collecting Pokemon cards. They will have a sheet of paper and it
that's
says
nuts.
which table has which
Nuts.
growers varieties, and it'll say table F side B because people want every color from that grower. Like they collect them like baseball cards. It's insane.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is Aztec Gold. I'm sorry, not Aztec Gold. That's Veracruz Rose right there,
Yes,
and
Big.
it's yellow with a pink edge. And
yes,
then on the
that's
back,
yes.
it has a nice
It,
strong line. So that's Veracruz
whoa.
Rose, and literally I could smell it right here. It's like 2 feet from my face. So the thing about this is very strong smelling
Mhm.
Veracruz Rose, but Veracruz Rose smells exactly like a Mr. Lickin' rose. I mean, it smells exactly like a rose. It doesn't smell like a plumeria. It smells like a rose. So if
Oh,
you like the smell of roses, it's a really strong smelling plumeria. It's like a soft, sweet smell, I'd say. Another one is Aztec Gold, which is yellow.
yeah.
With the also, I don't have any Aztec. I have my pull of flowers here. So
Look at
anyway,
that.
I don't have Aztec Gold on this, but Aztec Gold actually smells like peaches, and
Yeah.
it's strong smelling like peaches. Also, another strong one. This one gets kind of orange colored. This one's called Penang Peach. That's
Wow.
again a little bit older common variety. It gets orange, so it's been a little cooler this week, so it's kind of toned down the colors a little bit. So
Wow.
that's also a very strong
Your
smell. So,
flowers are
so my
big, man. Those are great.
yeah. This one is. If you can put it on my face, you can see how big that is.
Look
That's
how big that
Wow.
is.
that's Veracruz Rose, and so Penang Peach. Let's see what else I have that smells strong here. Oh, this one smells actually really strong, and it's funny because people don't always like it, but this one's called um, Peach Glow Shell, which is a shell
Peach
plumeria.
flush.
I don't know if you can you see that? It doesn't actually
That's
Oh
open
just
that
wow.
way. It stays shelled
oh.
just like that. It stays
I've
small,
got
but the flower
some
collections are
small
big.
ones like that. Yeah.
But this is so strong. It's very. It's like a sweet floral fragrance. Very very strong.
It's very
Yeah.
like when I tell people I'm like it's like squeezing the bottle of herbal essence shampoo, and you're
Yes,
like,
it's
Yeah,
super
it is.
perfumey. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
The only thing that I do like about it, because my nose is a little sensitive, the only thing I like about it is it doesn't have the chemical smell of herbal essence. It smells
yeah,
Yeah.
natural. Yeah.
it smells
So this is another one.
natural. Yeah.
This one's called Genie Morani.
Look at
And
that one.
this flower could get up to about 5 inches. And this is what they call a strong fragapani smell. I know it's funny. I don't know what that smell is for frangipani, but that's what they call it. This one smells just like plumeria. Beautiful, easy to grow. So that's a really good one too. But for smell, that's all I have in front of me here. I want to show you guys this one because this one's just really pretty. This one's called Electric. It's made by Jungle Jacks, which Jungle Jacks is starting to infiltrate Texas now. This is
I got a couple jungle jacks. Yep.
So this is called Electric, which is really inexpensive. And it gets, you can see the orange. I don't know if you can see the orange in it or not, but it gets in that orange with that nice pink stripe. It doesn't have much of a fragrance, but the color's great. And then a couple other nice ones. If you want to see a bigger flower, I pulled this one. This one's called, and it's great. It's pretty good. This one's called.
It's huge.
I can't even think of the name of it. Yeah, it's very big. Here you can see.
Yeah, Justin, like
on my face.
Mine, his are like twice the size of my flowers.
I think it's from mature. Is the bigger the plant, the more mature the plant, the bigger the flower is going to be, or is there just a max size on certain ones?
It's kind of like fish; they'll grow to their size of their genetics, but a more mature plant's going to give you a fuller size flower for sure.
Got it.
Definitely.
And that one was Kaneohe Sunburst. That last one.
Okay.
This is a cool one too. Not much of a fragrance, but this one's called Metallica because it's got that white stripe in there.
That's white stripe cool
and
then
that's
Metallica,
Metallica,
magenta almost.
And I'll show you one more, then I'll leave it alone. This last one is, I don't know if the color is going to come through the screen correctly, but this one's called Pops Red. And see, it doesn't show on the screen. It's so dark red.
I was going to say, what a contrast with like green leaves and that. It's like,
it's like a velvet red. So, but yeah, I mean, so some people just want to buy certain colors because, they want to have reds in their garden or they want to have yellows in their garden. But I really think that all the colors, let's see if I can get that, all the colors together blend really nicely. So anyway, but yeah, that was kind of a tutorial on fragrant ones.
And I've seen like those like I've seen striped ones with all the colors, like the pink, the yellow, the orange, like, and they're like long and narrow almost. Is that right?
Yeah, I got so many. I pulled what was within the first acre.
Yeah.
Wow. You're in good company. Like plant people are like,
yes.
Yeah. I didn't want to go to the top acre. I stayed on my lower acre. So, and I didn't want to go to the bottom acre. So I just kind of stayed in the middle. So
that'll be on the next episode. We'll do a part 2 for sure. Whenever we'll get more complex. So do you sell flowers too? Like you sell the flowers as well? I saw like at the in your picture you had a big box up. Do y'all sell the flowers as well, like at the market?
So I don't sell the flowers because usually I'm too busy to pick flowers and have them ready for people at a certain date or certain time. When I have the box, that's actually when I do my events. I hand out flowers for free to people just because it's kind of like the Islander thing to do. It's just kind of like, it puts people in the right state of mind, whether they're buying something or not. It puts them in the night, puts them in that good mood.
I love that.
Who doesn't like a free flower, right? Even if it's the plumeria. Yeah, I put them on. I've actually put them on toothpicks. I can't remember right now. There it is. So I put them on toothpicks and I just put it right into the back of the flower. So then it's easy for people to just put it right behind their ear.
There you go.
Because wedges. So anyway.
Well, and you can keep them for a while, like quite a while. I mean, they stay.
Yeah.
Pretty like you. I don't know how people. I don't know how they usually preserve them for like leis and stuff. I don't think most people know that like most leis like from Hawaii are made with like mostly frangipani flowers. With plumeria flowers, right?
Yeah. So if you're buying a cheap lei in Hawaii, then you're buying orchid leis. They're usually purple. But if you're buying frangipani or plumeria leis, you're spending usually about 50 to 70% more in cost because it's more laborious than the orchid leis and they're more expensive as a bloom. But yeah, if you want to, what I do is I have like this little lei. It's called a lei vase. It's made just for plumeria flowers. You fill it with water and you put your flowers in there and they last for about a week. And then you just,
refresh
them with new flowers and you could have plumeria flowers throughout the warm season in your house.
I'm definitely going to order one of those.
Of color. Yeah.
Because I wanted to do a video this past spring, and I guess next spring I'll do it. Well, I'll have more blooms. I want to try to make my own lei. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't know the cultural importance of like the lei. I decided it'd be cool to make one with all the flowers, but like, you know, I don't know much about leis at all, like what they really mean or what they represent or anything. I thought it'd be cool to make them. So, so I mean, it'd be kind of cool, like because since you have so many blooms, a lot of times it would be cool to see a video of like you making some leis. It'd be awesome, like showing how to do that if you've ever done it before.
I've made leis myself, but it is all just for fun. I
Yeah.
definitely don't make leis to sell. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I have plenty of friends all throughout the country that make leis. So if somebody needs, you know, me to tell you where to find out how to make a lei, I'll just look up who I got in Texas or North Carolina. Maybe not North
Okay.
Carolina, but I have people in Florida, I have people in Texas, and of course California.
Well,
And
one
they
of my
can either
plumeria
teach
friends,
you-
he came over and he almost is like, you can have
It's
this
pretty
tree as
simple.
long as I can come over and make my leis with it. I was like, fine.
Oh, okay.
But-
Well, that's good. Then you could learn from him too. Yeah.
And he was showing me
so,
like using that hole that you put the toothpick in. He's like, you can run the
Mhm.
string through that, but it takes
Correct,
a while.
but you use it's a really fine needle. It's like a needle. It's meant for that. It's a needle that you put through it instead of a toothpicks are too big.
Oh.
But yeah,
Well, not
it's a
toothpick,
needle.
but like the hole that you use. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
And-
it's a lot of fun. I mean, last time I made a lei, I was in Maui, so it was like perfect. But I was, around a bunch of friends making them too. So
Yeah. I speaking of like the size of the hole, I'd seen some videos on how people actually pollinate, plumerias, and it's a lot more complicated than you might think because the
Yeah.
pollen is just deep back in there. It's not like at the surface, it's pretty far back. I've seen some methods where
Yep.
they call it like a swizzle stick or something like that. It's like a piece of yeah. Oh, so is that like the old fashioned way of doing it?
No, it's like there's no proven fact that it actually works, except because one season you could have more gypsy moths at night, or one season you could have more thrips that naturally fertilize them. So there's no way to tell if it's actually.
I got you.
They call it twirl. They call it twirling.
Twirling stick.
And all they
Yeah,
do
yeah,
is
yeah.
They get like a pencil. Yeah, all they do is get a pencil, and they tape a piece of fishing line at the end of it, like number 16 or whatever you go fishing for trout with, and they just take it and they insert the little fishing line inside, and then they twirl the pencil, and that's supposed to, but the problem with doing that is, yeah, exactly, twirling. The problem with that is it could also just totally smash all of the all the organs that it takes inside that flower to make the seed, so it could actually just be defeating the purpose. Yeah, because it's they're so small. That I mentioned earlier about the fertilizer guy in Florida. That's Florida Colors. He has a huge seedling program, and he actually does it with like an X-Acto knife and the little, Monopoly Man microscope. And yeah, he does some crazy stuff, but he's got some really nice hybrids too. And so that's good for him. Yep.
It's way more complicated than well, I mean, if you look up, cross-pollinating plumerias, that's like one of the first videos that pops up on YouTube. And I think he's in Australia or South Africa. And he's like, all right, you take the pencil and you put a little bit of string on it and you go in here and he just shows me he's just going around with like hundreds of them.
Yeah, that's Dennis. That's Dennis Schmidt. He's actually in Thailand, but he's from Australia.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So does it work? Does it work? Sure, it works. But maybe there was a lot of gypsy moths that night. I don't know. So you never know. Nature does like this year and last year. I've seen so many seed pods I don't even know what to do with. I've got like thousands and thousands and thousands.
Hey, I'll take some. I'll take some.
Are you going to get like? Are they going to be resembling the parent? Or are they going to be their own type of plumeria on flower?
We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, this is a tough call because sometimes I've gotten some weird results. Typically, it'll be
perfect. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear the weirdness.
Yeah.
But this is the fun thing is I had some seed pods that came from it was like a white with a little pink back. It's just a no ID, and I took seeds from that one and I got some pure whites and I got some yellows and then I got a couple of reds. So it's like,
wow, yeah.
You never know.
I
mean,
it takes 4 to 8 years to find out, though. That's the only problem.
Yeah, I mean, for people that are really doing it like a lot, like all the time, like they have like an aero garden that's like the hydroponic garden to do it indoors and stuff. You could probably get a bloom in 2-3 years, but you have to be really into gardening to be buying $100 thing. But yeah, that is the crazy part about it, is you could get some random color pop in there. I don't really know how long Fragapani has been around, but I'm guessing it's longer than humans, more than likely. So I look at it like this: is me or you could have kids, and one kid could have blue eyes and brown eyes and
Yep.
brown hair or blonde hair or whatever. They can be broad, they can be skinny. It's all these little minute things that can be different about your
To
children.
an extent, and
between
then
each
there'll be
one.
some explaining to do later. But like, yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But what I'm saying is just multiply.
What's that? What's that
because
sago
Fragapani's
palm
best.
doing over here? What's going on?
It comes out with cones. So anyway, yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
it's
man.
just like I just you get so much. You could get so much mix because they've been just decades or centuries and centuries of cross mixing with themselves. So that's where all
Right,
these
because
colors are
absolutely.
coming
and
from.
some plants are like that, where like you do not know what you're going to get in the children from
Yeah.
the parents, because you're
Yeah.
getting so
Well,
much DNA crossing.
Mhm.
And Alex, you'd even told me, because I've got some 3-year-old plumerias that started blooming, and they're all like pretty much all white. I've got some all white and then white and yellow. But you were telling me that they don't even, that's their first blooms. That's not their true color yet. That they will put out like a
Yeah.
true like mature color after that, right?
I think it's 3 cycles, 2 or 3 cycles you have to wait. So that
3
means 2
cycles.
2 or 3 seasons to get the real
Yeah.
color. Like I
That's
had somebody.
fascinating.
There's a guy down in Arizona, a friend of mine. He had this year. He had one of his seedlings, and it came out purple. It was like a lavender purple color. It was very, very nice. Of course, Arizona's
It's
Whoa.
rare,
hot, so
right?
the colors
It's
are
pretty
kind of
rare.
fine there. But we just made a joke and said, "I'll see you in 2 years and tell me if it's still see if it's still purple." You know, because it can turn pink.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
that's the thing. But he bought all expensive seeds back in the day, so it's probably going to be a lavender or purple color more than likely.
Is
Yeah,
that
so,
common? The
but
purple
anyway,
one? I don't think I've ever seen a purple one before.
Oh yeah, there's purple. Go scroll through my Instagram a little more.
Okay.
There's one.
Oh, look.
There's one called black purple. That's like what everybody wants, and it is when it's warm. It
I
has to
want
be
it.
over like 85. Yeah, over 85 degrees. It is like a darker purple color. And then
I
there's a
just
bunch of other
Googled
ones
it.
that are more
Wow.
lavender, like purple. Yeah. There's some nice colors. But
And don't
yeah,
buy your
it's
seeds on
there's
Amazon either, right?
purples. No, don't buy your seeds on Amazon. No.
No.
If you need to buy plumeria seeds, honestly, if this is not a yeah, is that black purple? It's not
this
showing
is dark.
really good on the
This
screen.
is,
It's usually
yeah,
not
this
I
is
that
pulled
dark.
up
It's not that.
dark
It's not that.
purple, and it's
okay.
crazy dark.
Yeah, if you scroll down my Instagram past all the sales ads, because I have the sale this weekend, I have some black. I think I have a black purple post down, about maybe 20 posts down. But
Wow.
those are the
Yeah.
two big ones are black purple and orange. People love orange and purple colors.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I
Well, here's
love
the
that.
thing, like, oh, sorry, go
Go ahead.
Jason.
No, go ahead, Phil.
I love my plumerias because when they started flowering, I had flowers for like months, and it was awesome. Like I have azalea bushes that are like 10 feet away that give me an awesome, I don't
They
know,
bloom
8 days.
1 month.
Yeah.
Like
bloom.
that's
Yeah.
it.
One.
So
Yeah.
it's a
Damn it.
bummer. Yeah.
And then I go to my
Yeah.
plumeria
Yeah.
and it's just like relegating in its floral essence, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah,
you're awesome.
and if you have that Veracruz rose, that's really a nice variety too. Big leaves, big flowers, big inflows. So it's a really nice one. But they usually start blooming around like mid-June. At least here, they start blooming around mid-June, and they'll go all the way sometimes till like Thanksgiving, sometimes Christmas, depending on the variety. So they have a long
Mine did
they have a
not
long
go
bloom
that long.
cycle.
My biggest
Yeah.
one has a little bit of pink, but it's mostly white and yellow, but with some pink in there. It's not quite as not as much as that Veracruz as far as
Yeah.
smell, but it still smells good. But I
Yeah.
just love that they just held on to those flowers so long, and they went through like cycles of flowers, and it was just awesome to
Yeah.
see something grow like that.
Yeah, if there's go ahead.
No, that sunburst one you were talking about that doesn't open fully from Jungle Jack. I'm pretty sure I have that one. It is not stopped blooming all year. It is literally from like May to now. It's still blooming now in October, right? Like outside.
Yeah.
It doesn't fully open, and it's a smaller one. And I'm pretty
I'd
sure
have to see it.
pretty sure it's a Jungle Jack. I'll send you a picture. But yeah, it's
Yeah, sometimes Jungle Jacks, I mean, there's like some really, really, really good jungle jack varieties, and then there's some that are like, it's a nice color, but it has no fragrance at all. Like there's two. I'm going to use two for instance. There's one from Jungle Jack. It's called Gina. It is just an amazing dark, dark red, huge flower, and it has pinks in it and stuff like that too, and huge inflows and grows really nice big leaves. No smell. And there's another one called J105. Both those are very common. You can find them pretty easily. Beautiful rainbow color flower, really, really thick petals, big flowers, and no smell. But I have them just because the flowers are so nice, and they're nice in floral arrangements and stuff like that too.
For sure.
So it's really depending.
Hearing you talk about these strains,
so many
so
choices.
similar to the fig world of like propagating ones, and like I have like everyone's trying to. This is BA1. This is J105. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm gonna get you some figs.
Yeah. People use numbers. I mean, I use numbers when I'm doing my hibiscus too. When I'm hybridizing hibiscus, I use numbers just because the different. I have them in rows, so I have them different rows. So I use 100s for row 1, 200s for row 2, 300s for row 3, so on. Yeah. So I get
awesome.
that.
Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. I was going to ask you one more thing because I know we're going to let you go here in a minute. When I went to the Plumeria Society place, they were talking about the nodes. They were talking about the nodes on the Desert Rose. Talking because I had asked the question because someone had told me that whenever you prune a Plumeria, that it will ramify, that it'll put out new limbs. But they were saying there was a certain amount of nodes where it would naturally put out limbs, and you could see the distance between each node would be either closer together or more widespread based on how often it was getting water and how fast it was growing. Like they were saying you could see like, kind of like rings on a tree. You could see the distance between nodes.
So water has a little bit to do with that, but a lot that has to do with that is the growth of the tree, depending on the variety. Because there's one called Loretta. It's a really pretty multicolored pink, but it only grows like maybe 3 or 4 inches every year. So the nodes are really close together because the leaves stack. Where some other varieties that grow like 3 or 4 feet a year, like Aztec Gold grows like 3 feet a year at least. The nodes are like 4 inches apart because it's growing so fast, so the leaves aren't stacked up as much. Water does have a little bit to do with it. Like if you drought your plant, then the leaves are going to be stacked a little bit more versus elongated with a lot of water. But variety does have a lot to do with that too. There's one out there called Dwarf Singapore Pink that usually maxes out. I've never seen them taller than like 10 by 10, and that's like a 80-year-old plant. So they typically max out at about 5-6 feet by 5-6 feet, like tall and wide. And those the so small between the leaflets. So those nodes are really, really close by. But I think to answer your question is if you're trimming it, I usually just go on the safe side, and I usually leave about 3 to 4 nodes out from wherever you're trimming. So if I'm trimming this finger here, I can't do this because I have my phone. So
I'll do it. So
this finger,
right
there, exactly. So you'd want to go like you want to leave yourself basically about 4 inches from wherever the main stem is. So let's say your knuckle is the main stem. You want to leave about 3 or 4 inches above that.
For dieback, right?
Correct, for dieback, because it's going to bud out and push out 2 or 3 new branches from that spot. That's like if you're trimming for crop, like for trimming, like to get more cuttings, then you want to make sure you leave that extra chunk of meat.
When's the best time to trim?
Right before they leaf out, or right when they're leafing out, because then their sap is
circulation
up at the top. Yeah. So April, May. So if your last frost is April, then you would probably go for May for you in North Carolina. Texas is kind of a weird weather in through April. I think by May, Texas should be okay.
Yeah, I've got, and I need it to warm up because I've got like some of those 3-year-old seedlings that are about 8 foot tall, and I need to cut them in half. I need to cut them in half. Yeah, their nodes are like this. Their nodes are like that, and they're pretty.
Yeah.
So So, and I know there's a lot of debate about this. When you make a cut, I know there's the 45-degree angle. You want it at an angle, so that it'll drip. But what do you use to seal your cuts? What do you use to seal your cuts?
as long as you're doing it during the growth season, usually your growth season, it's not rainy. Now, that's in California. I know back east and down south, it could be a little different. You have your thunderstorms and stuff. But in California, we basically will rain from January till April, and we usually don't have much any time the rest of the year. That's our major, January to April is our major rain time. We'll have some in December too, but not a lot. So
Sounds like
I
Austin.
don't put anything on plumeria. Yeah, I don't put anything on plumeria because I'm trimming when the sap is active, and the sap is basically like glue. The sap will do the sealing for you.
Okay.
If you want to put anything
Okay.
on it, if you want to put something on it, throw some cinnamon on it. Done.
Cinnamon. Okay.
So yeah,
It's a
so
natural,
that's
it's a natural fungicide that'll kill anything. You could use
Yeah.
powdered sulfur. Powdered sulfur also works. I've even used root hormone
yeah.
because it's just
No,
the antifungal. We're just using
Yeah.
antifungals, you know.
Yeah, I've
So-
I saw some videos of people using DAP like silicone over the top. I was like, man, that doesn't seem great. And there's a
No, the water gets in underneath. It gets underneath and it sits in there.
and then I saw another post. It was on, I think it was on the Plumeria Facebook page, and it looked like someone had taken a condom and put it over the top of the cutting, but it was actually those finger gloves, the finger gloves that they rolled over. And I was like, I feel like that would lock in moisture, and it probably wouldn't be.
They lock in and rot it. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Now,
definitely
I
wouldn't
do
want
use,
that.
when I'm doing cuttings, like when I'm selling cuttings in the spring, all of my cuttings on the bottom of the growth, of course, this on the bottom of the stem, they all get, excuse me, a press and seal on the bottom, and they get electrical taped. That way, there's, and it's that way no air gets in because I'm in a drier area in Southern California. So if I don't do that, they'll actually dehydrate and suck in. So I put that on there because then it will callus stronger and it'll actually start forming roots inside that press and seal, which is really funny. I have pictures
Oh,
of it. It's
interesting.
just kind of crazy. But
I've
yeah,
and that's on the
when you do
on the
it-
actual
good.
cutting, not the plant. That's on the actual cutting,
That's
not the
cutting,
plant.
not on the plant.
Yeah.
When you do it
Yeah.
on the
I
plant,
found
like you're
like
describing,
how
that just rots
easy it is to root a cutting of a plumeria. I feel like it's almost easier than figs in some instances. Now there might be varieties that are probably harder to root than others, but
It's
So I'll
pretty
tell you a
easy,
funny-
dude.
This is the funniest thing, and this is what I'd say, to my friends, but I'll say it on to the world or whatever. It's really funny. Is you know how different plant groups, there's drama and there's this and there's that. Well, this is why I think there's less drama in some other groups that are harder to root in, and then there's more drama in easier to root in, because when people find things to be really easy to root, like a plumeria, oh wow, I'm a master at rooting plumeria, man, I'm the best. So then everybody thinks they're the best at everything, and then everybody has their opinions on everything. So answer your question, it's super simple to root. It's like rooting a succulent.
Yeah,
So
I
that's how I look at it.
I don't even use rooting hormone when I propagate them. I don't even use any of that
Yeah.
really for the most part.
no, I just stuck
You
it
don't
in
you
and
don't
it
you don't
just
have to.
You just want to let it scab
Yeah.
over,
So-
like completely scab over and callus.
Correct.
That's the most important thing.
So this is my directions to people is when you do a cutting, cut it with a flat saw. I use a reverse pull saw, Japanese pull saw. That way, or a band. You could use a band saw. You could use a pipe cutter because it can't be pushed and squeezed like with pruners because it crushes the cambium. So when you do a pull saw, it's nice and flat and clean. Do it flat. Don't do it on a 45-degree angle. Like after you trim it off the tree, on the tree, 45-degree angle, but the cutting itself, recut flat. Stand it
Okay.
up in the shade somewhere for about a week or 5 to 7 days, but it has to be in the shade. Stand it up. A warm piece of concrete that doesn't get sun, that'd be good. Maybe like a morning sun location would be cool. And then after that, I usually tell people, because I deal with a lot of expensive cuttings, I'll tell people for rooting, and I use this kind of for everything except for hibiscus, is use cocoa core and perlite. As cocoa core and perlite are both sterile. Some people use bag products. People don't think about things too much when they're rooting plumeria, but because I deal with like a cutting that's $100 or more, you want to take all the steps. So cocoa core perlite being sterile, you're not going to have any issues with fungus or disease or bacteria getting in. Versus if you use a bag product, I'll say 80% of bag products, not all of them, like you have some really expensive bag products that are great, but 80% of bag products have compost in them, and compost is dead trees, and dead trees have bacteria. So I always try to tell people cocoa, corn, perlite, 50-50. Water it once, stake it, of course. Water it once, leave it alone until leaves start pushing. And then when leaves start to push, you could spray it for like a month, a little bit. And then once leaves are open, like five leaves are open, then you can start watering it regularly, and then it has roots by then. The only other thing, which is always controversial, but I think it's funny because it's actually, I went to school for horticulture. So this is actually a horticultural thing. When you're growing plants from cuttings, you always snip any flowers because they want to force flowers because they're trying to reproduce. So you always snip the flowers. So when I'm doing hibiscus, you always cut the flowers. So that first year when plumerias are all starting to grow out, I cut all those plumeria flowers off. It's the best video because it's so shocking to people. Because people are like, you're cutting all the flowers off. Why are you doing that? It's because you're trying to force the energy to the roots rather than to the flower. Because it's putting all its energy to the flower. And sometimes it won't root because of that. Like reds, for example. Reds and oranges are notorious for rotting because the people let them bloom. They wanted to see their precious flowers, but they're not realizing that first year is all needs to be root growth. And you probably have that with figs too. I bet you figs probably try to push flowers. Yeah, I bet
you have to be very careful when they're putting out figs, or like they'll put out leaf growth before they put out root growth. And sometimes it's like it's too late. Once they put out enough leaf growth, you're like they don't have enough energy left over to make roots.
Yep.
So do you have to as the leaves go ahead.
I was going to say I do a lot of propagations, and I notice it. It's either plants want a fruit. It's instead of fight or flight, it's fruit or root. They either want a fruit or root. You know, they're gonna. Yeah. They're thinking like, oh, I got to put out roots, or I got to put out a little bit of energy to try to put out a bloom, and then pass my genes off. You know, to the next life. You know.
I like that quote. That
I like that a
root.
lot.
I should try to think of something.
Hey,
flower.
I just came up with that.
Flower, no power. There you go.
Yeah.
No power for the roots.
There you go, man.
Brainstorm. But yeah.
Real quick, I'll say last question before we let you go, because I know you got a conference call after this.
No worries.
It's getting to be like, you know, getting towards fall, winter time. What is your go-to method? I know some of your stuff's in the ground, but most of it's a lot of it's probably in pots. What is the best advice you can give to people who have to store their plumerias over winter and maybe they don't have a greenhouse?
Gotcha. So I'll just I have family in Dallas, and they have their garage, and literally all they do is when the night temperatures start looking like, when you look at the night temperatures for the week, when it starts showing like it's going to be in the 40s solid, like during the whole week, steadily in the 40s, that's when you're going to want to move your trees into the garage. The main thing is the garage needs to be temperature controlled, and most Texas houses have temperature control throughout their house and in the garage anyway. If not, you can move it inside the house. But what you'd want to do is, because you're going to really stop watering at that point, you'd want to strip all the leaves off of them, because then they don't need that moisture in the root system. So you strip all the leaves off, bring them inside, and just make sure that it stays, you know, I try to keep it above 40 if you can.
Above 40, okay.
You're forcing dormancy.
Yeah, best would be like 40. Yeah, you're forcing dormancy, stripping leaves off, taking light away. But yeah, that's the best way to do it. Some people, depending on where they're at and their space for storage, they'll actually take their plant and take all the soil off their plant and just store the plant in perlite through the wintertime. So it's just really depending on how much work you want to do. I would my family out there in Dallas, they take all their plants and just shift them inside, and they're not even gardeners. Like they love plants, but they're not gardeners at all. But I sent them like 30 cuttings, so they have like 30 plants. And they just take them out in May when the weather's, you know, steady in Texas. And Dallas is tough to grow plants.
Yeah, Dallas is kind of tough. Well, and a lot of people know abuelos and stuff like that will just, you know, they will stick their plumerias in the ground like just as a stick in the flower beds in the spring, and right before that first freeze, they go yank them up out of the ground. And I heard like they hang them upside down in the garage. Is there something to that? Like they hanging them upside down? I've heard people say upside down for some reason. I feel like that wouldn't be the best.
About plumerias? No, I've never.
Yeah, really.
Upside down. Ever.
Really?
I mean, roses, sure. Like the
roses,
wow. No, I've never heard plumerias being hung upside down. That's this. I mean, if it works, I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
if it
it's
works
it's like you
for that
said.
person, great.
It's like you said. There's a million ways that people do different things, and
Yeah, yeah.
they think, oh yeah, you
And
got to hang it upside down. It stops the circulation or something. I don't know.
I don't think that would stop the circulation. I mean, the
Yeah,
plant's going to do what the plant's going to do. I mean, I've seen plumerias that are growing upside down like this. They didn't stop the circulation because they came right back up. So
Yeah.
it's just like with anything, they'll go towards the sun or the light. Yeah, so it's not. I don't think that would stop the circulation. If the plant's healthy, it's going to stay healthy. But yeah, that's what I would do. Defoliate. Don't water through the wintertime. And then make sure the temperatures are, at the lowest 45-ish. Yeah, no moisture though. If you water them in the wintertime in the garage, they'll just die most of the time. I've seen
Yeah.
complete death in the garage from that. And when I said temperature controlled, meaning you can't just put them outside in the shed in Dallas. In Houston, you're fine. You could have them in the ground. But in areas that get to freezing, you need to either have a like generator to keep your garage warm, or have circulation from your house into the garage so it stays warm. You could even do a space heater if you want to risk it.
Yeah, my go-to method is putting them in the garage and it's insulated, and I'll just throw I'll throw a couple heat lamps on there overnight, and then in the morning I turn them off, and they're usually fine.
Yeah, you're in Houston, right? Houston.
Yeah, south of Houston. It doesn't get too cold here, not that bad.
Houston's weather is like good.
Yeah, I'm too scared to put them in the greenhouse. I'm too scared to put them in the greenhouse. So I was like, my special stuff, I bring it in the garage. But now I got 40 or 50 plumerias, and
I was gonna say
40,
now you can
40
test.
adeniums is starting to run it out. It's trying to run out of room, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll get 28, 29 here, so I'll get I'll drop down below sometimes, and I have about 90 bigger trees out there out in the open. So, but they're trees. They're like with trunks and everything. So like 12 feet tall or more. But yeah, that's what I would say. Just bring them inside, take the leaves off. Then they don't need water. You're again forcing dormancy.
Don't water and don't prune them. I found out the hard way. Don't prune in the wintertime, no matter how bad you want to. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because I even tried to put some bonsai paste on it, and it did not do it. It did not help out. Did not help out at all.
Kept rotting. Just kept rotting back.
It's like gangrene. It just kept going deeper and deeper until the spring, and then it stopped.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Well, Alex, man, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I know you're the plumeria papa and you are the hibiscus papa. So next time we need to talk about plumerias and hibiscuses, because I love hibiscuses too.
No worries. I actually like some of the stuff.
I actually lost a couple of the mealy bugs this year. I had the worst mealy bug infestation I've ever had in my life. Yeah, I lost a couple of really nice ones. Yeah, oh man. It's probably my doing, because I buy a lot of plants, and so I'm introducing. I need a quarantine area, is what it sounds like. It sounds like I need a quarantine area.
Yeah, you should. Easy though. Insects are easy to get though, because they fly. So you're gonna get them either way. And
I'm in such a small space. Like there's literally probably 500 plants in my backyard. Like it's a lot. So, and most of them are containers.
Do you have an acre?
No, I have
everything mashed up in a little yard.
Yes, I have a 30-second. I have a 30-second of an
beautiful
acre.
Flow to it. It's like people have trophy rooms. Destin's got his garden, and it's like how you have them arranged. Like if a new plant comes in, there's a matrix of unfolding. That's like But I do the same thing with figs, so I can just relate to it in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but he said the magic word. He said he didn't have any kids, so he's got all kinds of free time and free money.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Because I got my license to sell plants, and I find that I still buy more plants than I sell. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. And the greenhouses is never big enough. I tell everybody, if you're going to buy a greenhouse, do the measurements and then multiply it times 2, because you're going to fill it really quick. You'll fill it very fast.
Yeah.
So, and you'll need another one. Well,
Parkinson's law.
Yes. Alex, real quick, man, let everybody know where they can find you. And I think you said you got a sale on Saturday, right?
Oh, yeah. So Instagram, plumeria.papa or hibiscus.papa will get you to me. I have a link tree there that takes you to everything, takes you to the fertilizers I use, takes you to my sales that I have going on. I have a big sale. It's $150 I think we're up to 115 vendors. It's a Hawaiian/plant show, so we have about half and half of each. There's hula, there's live Hawaiian music all day, food on site. That's this Saturday in the city of Tustin. So it's actually a really good sale. A lot of really good vendors, people that you may even know, like Equigenera and stuff like that. So, but anyway,
Nice.
yeah, that's this coming Saturday. That'll be my last big sale for the season, and then I go into dormancy mode for a few months while it gets rainy and cold.
You're
Just
gonna
more work.
defoliate.
It's just
You're,
more.
you're gonna,
I just
yeah,
do more work in the greenhouses. Yeah. But people just
yeah.
don't see me. I kind of like vanish for a while. So
You
hibernation.
defoliate and you go into dormancy. Yeah.
He's doing all the back end
100%.
work
Yep.
for when it gets warm.
That's exactly. I'm going to start new cutting and this that, but yeah, stuff like that. Hibiscus, not plumeria. So yep,
That
that's
sounds
it.
great,
Thanks,
man.
guys,
If I
for
could
having
make
me
it
on.
out for some back, get some like Kahlua pork and musubis and.
Oh yeah, there's a Hawaiian restaurant that's going to be there. They have all kinds. It's called Tasty Hawaiian. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on at this sale. And yeah, with that many vendors and half of them being plant vendors. I mean, I don't know how much you guys are into house plants, but I mean, there's some really crazy stuff there that you probably haven't seen. I mean, people that
Ooh.
specialize just in Hoyas, or people that specialize just in aeroids, or philodendrons. Like, it's really specific, very specific plant growers that are going to be there.
Well,
And of course, tropicals too.
me and Phil are gonna make a trip because we got to go see the fig hunter. He's in Sacramento, I think. But we're gonna make a trip. Yeah. It's I know California is pretty long,
It's
so
so
like
big. It's so
We're
big.
gonna get a convertible and we're just gonna zip up the
yeah, the 101 or whatever, the Pacific Coast
the
Highway.
Pacific Highway.
You won't do any zipping through LA.
We're sitting in
No,
traffic.
not through LA. We'll definitely.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
But there's a
Hopefully-
lot
If
of
it says
people in California we need to see Dustin. Like Janie, I think I said I'd go visit her fig tree and everything.
Yeah. Hopefully by then Elon's got
Yeah,
that Hyperloop built, so we can just go under LA.
yeah, it's gonna be a decade probably, more than likely, forever. But yeah, if it says 30 miles, plan for at least an hour and a half drive. That's all I gotta
Man.
say. If you're going through any LA areas, that is.
Oh, I learned it the hard way. I went to like Culver City to visit a family member, like a cousin of mine, and it was
yeah.
like, where is everyone going right now? That is
Yeah,
fast.
everybody. It doesn't matter. It could be like Saturday at like 9:00, and everybody's everywhere. It's just doesn't matter. It's always traffic.
Oh man, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. I was looking at any last questions. Oh, and they can buy cuttings from you, right? You do sell online?
That's the thing right now. I'm not shipping right now. So, but if people need something, just have them message me and I'll direct them to who they need, or to who they can find that's local.
They're asking about purple black. That's the one you said that people want the purple black. Yeah.
So the black purple, everybody loves the black purple. So those are imported from Thailand. I get them in April. I stress them for 3 months. So I usually don't start selling those till around June. And I usually bring in about 30 to 40 every year. They're pricey. They're single tip grafted plant. They're like 140. So before people jump,
but it's
before
worth
people
it.
jump,
That's the idea.
I totally understand. But the thing is I try to talk to people first. I'm like, do you have any other plumeria right now? No, I don't. I just want the black purple. Well, get a couple yellow and whites. Yeah, get a couple yellows and whites and try them out for a year. Just see how you like them. If you do good with them, then okay. Then buy the $140 black purple. But it is a collector, quote unquote, collector variety, because it's not the easiest to find. So, but yeah, that's I could deal with that person if they wouldn't just message me.
No, for sure. Yeah, send Plumeria Poppy a DM, and that's a mark of a good plant person that you just wouldn't knowing hey, yeah, give me your $150. Here you go. Take it. The fact that you actually care that plant survives. Like when someone buys one of my fig trees or something like that, I always want to give them the best information possible so that my fig succeeds and they tell all their friends how good my tree was and they buy more. It's not ripping people off the way you want to make money. It's people wanting to buy more because yours did so well. That's what I want. Yeah,
there's that, and also I put 3 months of my time into the plant too to make it look good. So I also have a little pride in my plant too. I want my plant to live and go on and bloom. So
there's nothing better when you sell a plant, like I do some fig trees. and like people show me how the tree's doing later, and you see that it's just
Oh, yeah, I
doing
love
so
that.
well, and you're like,
Yeah,
it went
yeah,
to a
yeah, I
great
love it.
home.
Yeah. You know, once in a while you get like one or two people in the year, maybe one or two at the most. You'll have somebody that might lose it, and I just usually take care of them. You know, that's how I usually do
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
It's usually cuttings most of the time because people are a little bit new to cuttings most of the time when they buy cuttings from me. So,
Yes.
Water is
but
love.
anyway.
People love to water it. I always
Oh
tell
my
people,
gosh.
yeah, we can talk about that for a while.
Jeez. No,
Uh,
it's like no oxygen. Come on, people. The plants gotta breathe.
Yep. The best way you can appreciate your plant is by standing there and watching it. Don't water it. Water it and then
Yeah.
leave it alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
Exactly.
goodness. Phil, real quick, man, let everybody know what you got coming up and where they can find you.
I don't have. I'm still like. I came back. I was doing a lot of back end work the past few weeks, but you can find me at All Things Phil's Figs. I am going to put out some content hopefully this weekend. That's the game plan. It's been about a few weeks, and so I'm excited to get back into it.
Absolutely, man. And I finished my giant backyard project that I'm finally done with, and yeah, man, it was a lot of work. Working a full-time job and then doing stuff like this is a lot of work, but it's fulfilling and it's fun. I think all of us, do this as like our hobby, but like it's a passion. It's not. I don't call it like my fool around stuff. It's my passion. I love to do stuff like this. So
yeah.
it's not really work if you enjoy what you're doing.
Yep.
So. But thank you, Phil. Thank you, Alex, for coming on tonight, man. And
Yep.
thank you, everybody in the
Nice meeting you,
chat.
Phil.
We definitely have to get you back on, Alex, and we'll talk hibiscuses maybe.
Yeah, no worries, man. Hope you have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We'll see you next week. All right. I'm in the stream.